Yeah, what's good, everybody? It's your boy Matthew Maley from MatthewMaley.com, coming back with another quick video. Well, as you can tell, I'm on the couch, but it's not Friday night, and it's not a weekly movie review, but it is Saturday night, and there was a pretty awesome historic event, if you will, in the sport of mixed martial arts tonight. So I wanted to do a quick video and drop my 2 cents on it. So, as you guys know, I'm a huge MMA fan. Trained mixed martial arts for about 3.5 years. Really enjoyed it. Loved Muay Thai, loved Jiu-Jitsu, enjoyed wrestling, boxing, all of it. But as you guys know, thanks to my back surgery, my back injury, it's a no-go. It's something I probably could do again, but the risk to a reward factor, if I was a professional fighter, I'd probably still be training, but the fact that I was just, a random guy doing it for fun, my doctors all said that it's just one of those things that I would have to give something else up in order to do it, and the options were riding a motorcycle or working out, and I like doing both of those more. So, sadly, my dreams of, taking first in the open class at Abu Dhabi or being a 205 champion in the UFC are on permanent hold. But it is what it is. I can still live vicariously through all the amazing pros in the UFC and the rest of the organizations, though pretty much all of them are just offshoots of the UFC now. But anyway, for those of you who don't know, tonight marked the first time, and I honestly, Dana White made a comment about it, so I'm not sure when the last time was, but I believe the UFC has been on network television before, but this was their first time in a very long time being back on network television. And they struck a deal with Fox. They're actually no longer going to be broadcasting on Spike TV, who's been the home of the UFC and the Ultimate Fighter and UFC Unleashed for, I'd say, the past 5 or 6 years at least, but probably more than that, honestly, because we're on Ultimate Fighter, 10 now? Ridiculous. But really, Dana White just wanted to go bigger, which you can't fault him for that. I mean, him and the Fertitta brothers really have been instrumental in growing the sport to what it is, and taking what used to be called human cockfighting by John McCain and actually turning it into one of the most viable, amazing sports, period. I mean, and completely fastest growing. The number of people that are getting into MMA on a daily basis is huge. So the fact that they are now broadcasting in prime time on one of the top 5, normal channels, basic channels, if you will, that's huge. So I'm very happy for what this equals in the future. Plus, the UFC is a much more stable product than what was previously on, I think it was CBS, when they were running the Pro Elite, the Elite XC, and they had Kimbo fight and all that. But this is a product that is going to be around for a while. Dana White built it up properly, as opposed to many of these other organizations who were flashes in the pan, put way too much money in trying to compete with the UFC, and ended up just either going under or being bought by the UFC. So overall, it really was a great hour of TV. It felt like you were watching any other sporting event on Fox. The production value was huge. It was the same sound effects as you have on their Fox coverage of football. The da-da-dun, da-da-dun. You had what's his name? It's on the tip of my tongue. I see him every Sunday and I can't think of his name. Greg McNeil? I apologize. I don't remember his name. But he's one of the guys from the Sunday Football Countdown on Fox 10. And he did a really good job. I'm not sure how into MMA he really is, or how many. I'm pretty positive he's never had any kind of involvement in any MMA shows before. But he did a great job. So either he's an amazing sportscaster and was able to flow seamlessly into a completely brand new sport for him, or he legitimately knows a lot about the sport. It was cool. It was an hour worth of programming. So they brought in Dana White, and Greg did the actual lead-in, kind of like they do on Sunday, the guys at the table. And went into some really cool background of Kane, some really cool background of Junior Dos Santos, and it really was just a very professional looking production completely, and I was really excited about it. I think it was even better than what they put into the pay-per-views, personally. They had a pre-show, essentially. They did the interviews. Then they transferred. Then they threw it down to... They also brought in Brock Lesnar. He was kind of their color guy at the desk. And it was cool seeing Dana and Brock's chemistry. They worked really well with each other. And it made for some pretty entertaining and funny TV before the fight even happened. Then they threw it down to Joe Rogan and Mike Goldberg, who always do the UFC, announcing, and they didn't miss a beat. They were as good as always, even on a bigger stage. And one thing that was really cool is seeing Big John McCarthy back in the octagon. There had been a lot of beef between him and Dana when everything was going down with the Affliction attempt at a promotion, really. So that was cool to see him back in the octagon where he belongs. And then there was some good fighting for about a minute and a half. And then Junior Dos Santos caught Kane perfectly with a little right hook and done. It was the first time that Velasquez had ever lost. And obviously the first time he'd ever been knocked out. It was the first time he'd ever been knocked down. And it was just... It was a pretty nice shot, to be quite honest. It was a pretty good shot. But the only complaint that I had was the fact that for an hour of programming, they only had one fight. Only one fight scheduled, only one fight planned, only one fight. Well, that would have been fine if it had been a 5-round super war. First off, they are heavyweights. That usually doesn't happen. Either they gas out and they lay on top of each other for 3 out of the 5 rounds, or somebody gets knocked out. I understand you want to showcase the heavyweights. Heavyweights are just what people want to see. There's a reason that Muhammad Ali was voted the #1 athlete in history. There's a reason George Foreman is still one of the biggest names in sports, period. That's just what you want to see. You want to see the big dudes going against other big dudes, knocking each other out, and they've got more power. It's just simple science. So I understand wanting to run the UFC heavyweight fight, and you have a good champion who just beat Brock. Well, not just, but his last fight was against Brock. So that already brought some people in to cheer for him. Plus, the event was in California, where there's obviously a high Mexican contingent. There you go. Cain Velasquez he's the first Mexican champion in history, and he's very vocal about his heritage. So that really worked well. And then you bring in a #1 contender who's got some of the best boxing in the UFC, not to mention the entire heavyweight division, or heavyweights, period, who's Brazilian, kind of a throwback to the beginnings of the UFC, somebody who's much more focused on one aspect as opposed to overall, being a master of one craft as opposed to good at all of them. They were actually talking about that. Joe Rogan and Dana was talking about that as well. But that was my only complaint, is that you got to expect that a knockout could happen. Yeah, I don't think they were planning on being a minute in, but a knockout can happen. So now what? Now you've got essentially people waited through 50 plus minutes, because it didn't actually run through the whole hour, but 50 plus minutes to see a minute and a half of a fight. I mean, that was my only complaint, is I wish they would have done it differently with that. But it was a trial run. This is the first one, hopefully of many. There weren't any disasters. There were no brawls. There were no Diaz brothers and Gilbert Melendez beating the hell out of Mayhem. There weren't any problems. It went off pretty smoothly. Nobody cussed on TV. And I really think it's going to be a great pairing with Fox. I could really see this turning MMA even bigger, even bigger than it already is, to the point where, hey, it's Friday night, that means it's UFC night. I could really see it getting to that. And Dana's a great businessman, honestly. So if there's a way to make some money and get the product out there more, I'm sure he will. So overall, I was very happy with the event. I really thought that it turned out very, very well done. I thought it was produced very well. I thought, having Brock there gave an extra element as well, since Kane, just beat him. Now he's fighting Alistair Overeem and was really kind of pulling for Kane because he wanted to fight him to get his belt back. So that added a cool element, and really it just felt like a very polished product, where sometimes with UFC events, they feel still a little throwback to the Human Gladiator days. Just based on, I don't know, just the pay-per-views themselves can come off that way. But having Fox's production value, for Fox's, sound effects, their Greg McNeil, God, what is his name? Having him there gave that sense of semblance, that sense of normalcy, as though it was just, hey, it's just another random, Fox event. It's like watching the World Series or watching the football game, or, so I really liked that. I thought it was very good, and I don't see anything but positives coming from this, honestly. I don't see anything but even bigger meteoric rise than already has been going on. So overall, I was very happy about it. And I can't wait to see what happens next. Hopefully next card goes for a good 2-3 hours, and we can actually get, some longer fights. So I like doing the interviews. I like doing the pre-show, the after-show. I like that. And I say keep all that. But at least have an hour worth of fights and have the other hour being the intros and all that. My opinion. Again, my 2 cents. But overall, I was definitely happy about it. So what about you guys? All my other MMA fans out there, or even people who aren't MMA fans, was that your first time ever watching the UFC? Ever watching a mixed martial arts fight? What did you think of it? One thing that I actually think was kind of good is there wasn't much blood, simply because for a first event, that could have definitely ostracized some viewers. Look at what happened back when Josh Thompson fought Kimbo and his ear blew up. That, I can't tell you how many people I heard at work the next day who never watched the UFC before, never watched MMA before, never watched Elite XC, and we're talking about how it was the most grotesque thing ever, and they would never watch it again. So I actually think it was good that it was just a clean knockout, and there wasn't some obscenely late stoppage with them pummeling him, or no arms were snapped, legs were snapped, anything like that. So overall, I think it went as well as it could, short of the fight going 5 rounds, back and forth, war, and, that's the only way I think it could have been better. But other than that, I thought it was awesome. So let me know what you guys thought. Who did you think was going to win it? I completely had it up in the air. I could not pick a winner. Honestly, I would tell myself, oh, Junior's going to win, he's going to catch him. To the next second, Kane's going to take him down and just grind it out. If Kane could knock out Brock, he's going to be able to knock out Junior. Junior trains with Minotauro. I just went back and forth. So I won't try to claim like I picked it. It was completely up in the air. What about you guys? So let me know. And let me know if you thought it was as successful as I did. Let me know if you think that there's a very bright future for the UFC on Fox. And just let me know what you guys thought, honestly, overall. So, once again, Matthew Maley from MatthewMaley.com. Just want to do a quick little UFC wrap-up for the very first UFC on Fox, and like I said, hopefully many more to come. So, till the next video, thank you very much for checking out my videos as always. If you're up on YouTube, I would love it if you could subscribe to my channel. Got videos coming up at least a couple times a week, as well as like this video and maybe throw me a comment. Watch it a few times if you don't mind. Of course, up on Facebook, love it if you would like my page. They should have a love instead of just a like button, so you could love my page. Search me at Matthew Maley Poker. And if you wouldn't mind sending it out to your friends, that'd be cool too. As always, you can follow your boy on Twitter, at Matthew Maley. And of course, MatthewMaley.com. Finally getting it all back together. So, hopefully, you guys will be able to just go to MatthewMaley.com and see all my brand new releases, all my videos and stuff. So, till next week, or my next video, I should say, I'm out. Peace out, y'all. Have a great rest of your weekend.